Welcome back to the Islamic legacy. Today, we bring you one of the most profound miracles mentioned in the Holy Quran, a story that challenges the very laws of time and nature. This is the story of Janabi Uzair, a miracle that serves as a divine proof of life after death. Centuries ago, the holy city of Jerusalem lay in ruins. The tyrant Nebuchadnezzar had swept through the streets like a desert storm, leaving nothing but ashes and silence. The once vibrant alleys were now filled with the bones of those who had perished. Through this landscape of desolation rode a noble soul, Janabi Uzair. He was on his donkey, carrying a small jar of grape juice and a basket of fresh figs. As he looked at the shattered walls and the bleached bones scattered across the dirt, a profound sense of sorrow filled his heart. Uzair stopped his donkey. He looked at the dust of a city that was once the pride of the world. A deep, philosophical question stirred within his soul, not out of doubt, but out of a longing to witness the true majesty of the Creator. He whispered, How will Allah bring this city back to life after its death? How can these scattered bones ever become whole again? The sun was high and the heat was intense. Uzair sought refuge under the shade of an ancient tree. He tied his donkey and laid his head on the ground for a brief rest. At that exact moment, by the command of the Almighty, the soul of Uzair was taken. He did not just fall asleep. He entered the realm of death. 1 year passed, then 50, then a full century. Outside, the world was moving. New empires rose, and Jerusalem began to be rebuilt. People who knew Uzair passed away, and his name became a fading memory. While the world changed, a miracle was unfolding under that tree. The donkey had died, and its bones had turned to dust. Yet, right beside it, the grape juice remained sweet, and the figs remained plump and fresh, untouched by the rot of time. Exactly 100 years later, the command of Allah echoed. The soul of Uzair was returned to his body. He opened his eyes, feeling as though he had only taken a short nap. An angel, appearing as a traveler, stood before him and asked, "Oh, Uzair, how long have you remained here?" Uzair looked at the sun and replied, "I have remained for a day, or perhaps even less than a day." The angel's voice resonated with divine weight. "No. You have remained in this state for 100 years. Look at your food. It has not spoiled. But now, look at your donkey." Uzair turned and saw nothing but bikri hui, scattered bones. The angel continued, "Watch now how he brings life out of death." Uzair watched in a celestial wind began to swirl. Before his eyes, the scattered bones flew toward each other, clicking into place. Muscles formed, and skin wrapped around the frame. Within moments, the donkey stood up, braying as if it had never died. Uzair fell to his knees and cried out, "I know now, with absolute certainty, that Allah has power over all things." But the miracle was only beginning. How would the people of Jerusalem react to a man who had been dead for a century? How would his own children recognize him? The angel's message was clear. Uzair was now a living sign for all of humanity. He mounted his revived donkey and rode toward the city. But as he entered the gates, the world felt like a dream. The architecture was different. The faces were unfamiliar, and the streets he once knew were gone. He finally reached a house that felt familiar. There, he saw a very old woman, blind and paralyzed, sitting by a crumbling wall. Uzair approached her and asked, "Is this the house of Uzair?" The woman began to weep, her voice trembling with age. "Yes," she whispered. "But Uzair has been missing for 100 years. People have stopped even mentioning his name. Who are you to ask about a man long gone? Uzair replied softly, I am Uzair. Allah took my soul for 100 years and has now returned me to this world. The woman was shocked. She knew that Uzair was a man of God whose prayers were never rejected. She challenged him. If you are truly Uzair, then pray to your Lord to restore my sight. Only then will I believe. Uzair raised his hands to the heavens. He prayed to the Almighty, and then he wiped his hands over the woman's sightless eyes. In an instant, a miracle occurred. The darkness vanished, and her eyes cleared. She gasped as she looked at the man standing before her, a man in his 40s, looking exactly as he did a century ago. I testify, she cried out to the neighborhood. This is Uzair. The Prophet of Allah has returned. The news spread like wildfire. A massive crowd gathered, led by an old man who was 118 years old. This was Uzair's son. He looked at the man who claimed to be his father, a man who looked decades younger than himself. Dizan said, my father had a black mark shaped like a crescent between his shoulders. Uzair moved his cloak, and there it was, the crescent mark. The son fell into his father's arms, weeping. It was a sight that defied all logic. A white-haired, frail son being held by a father who still possessed the strength of youth. But the scholars of the city demanded one final proof. During the invasion of Nebuchadnezzar, all copies of the Torah had been destroyed. No one living knew the holy book by heart. If you are Uzair, the scholars challenged, then recite the Torah for us, for it is said that Uzair was the only one who carried the word of God in his heart. Uzair sat before the people. He closed his eyes, and a divine light seemed to descend upon him. He began to recite. His voice was melodic and powerful, echoing through the city. He recited the entire Torah, word for word, without a single mistake. The people were silent, tears streaming down their faces. They realized they were witnessing the greatest miracle of their era. From the perspective of the Ahlul Bayt, this story is more than just a miracle. It is a profound lesson on Rajata, return. It proves that the one who can keep food fresh for a century and bring life to dry bones can easily revive the dead. Janabi Uzair lived among his people as a living proof of the Day of Judgment until his mission was complete. This concludes the story of the man who conquered time. If this story strengthened your faith, please like this video and share it. Thank you for watching The Islamic Legacy. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into our sacred history.